Now, to support Ukraine, today the Biden-Harris administration is announcing.
He should be embarrassed.
Support Ukraine today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing two critical new packages of security assistance that include significant new air defense capabilities, more ammunition for U.S.-provided HIMARS, and anti-armor and mortar systems, as well as rockets, artillery, and tank ammunition that Ukraine is using to defend itself. It is the 35th time the administration has authorized the use of presidential drawdown authorities to send much-needed assistance to Ukraine to meet its immediate battlefield needs.
Here we go again.
And we are also providing equipment throughout Ukraine's Security Assistance Initiative to help Ukraine with its longer-term security assistance requirements. President Biden's commitment to supporting Ukraine is clear. We will continue to work with our allies and partners around the world to support Ukraine as they defend their democracy and to impose costs on Russia as it continues its unconscionable, unprovoked war of choice.
Here we go.
And finally today, as you will see momentarily, President Biden will meet with the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. The meeting will focus on the risks and opportunities that artificial intelligence technologies pose for individuals, society, and national security.
Okay.
The President will discuss the importance of protecting rights and safety to ensure responsible, innovative, and appropriate safeguards. The President believes that tech companies have a responsibility to make sure their products are safe before making them public. And so he will also reiterate his call on Congress to pass bipartisan privacy legislation to protect kids, limit personal data tech companies collect on all of us. With that, Sungmin, you want to kick us off?
What did you say?
I have two topics.
Sure.
I was wondering on the pretty remarkable developments in the Tennessee legislature where Republican lawmakers are moving to expel Democratic lawmakers for their role in gun protests. And I'm wondering if the White House, the president, think what the reaction is to these attempts to expel these members. Do they think it's justified, not justified, and everything that's kind of happening in that legislature after the Nashville shootings last night?
And what is that word?
A couple of things. Look, as we know, and you heard me speak to it, you heard the President speak to this, the First Lady speak to this last week. What we saw in Nashville, that horrific event of 3 kids and 3 adults essentially being murdered at school, was heart-wrenching and infuriating. Our hearts go out to their families. We understand that it's going to take some time to even move forward from such a tragic loss. Look, as you saw, and I'm sure have been reporting, 7,000 students peacefully marched to the Capitol to confront their lawmakers for their failure to keep them safe at school.
Like what? What?
And what did the Republican legislators do, as you just laid out, Sungmin? They're trying to expel these 3 Democratic legislators who joined in the protests. And so, look, what we're seeing from Florida to Tennessee in the United States are Republican officials who are doubling down on dangerous bills that make our school places of worship and communities less safe. And so they are, by doing what they're doing with these 3 Democratic legislators, they're shrugging in the face of yet another tragic school shooting while our kids continue to pay the price. That's what we're seeing every time that we hear one of these tragic events. President has been clear. Too many lives are being ripped apart. Communities are being ripped apart with this gun violence, which is an epidemic in our country. This is why he's taken the actions that he has these first 2 years and continues to have with executive action, historic executive action. And he's going to continue to call on Congress to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazine, require safe storage of firearms, eliminate gun manufacturers' immunity from liability, and require background checks for all gun sales, and for state officials to take action at the state level. But again, Republican legislators, to your question, want to play politics and not put the lives of our kids first.
Seriously.
And on a second topic, can the White House give us an actual timeline of when they expect the wrongfully detained designation for Mr. Gershkovich?
Why?
So I have a couple of things. I have some updates for you on that. And some of this you guys already know. Look, we're going to continue to call for the release of Evan Gershkovich. As I said, these charges are ridiculous. Evan is not a spy. Evan has never been a spy. Evan has never worked for the U.S. government, and he is an independent journalist employed by the Wall Street Journal, as you all know. This is a case that is a priority for this president. A couple of things that occurred over the weekend that I'll just lay out for you here. Secretary Blinken spoke directly with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov to convey that the United States is gravely concerned that Evans' detention is unacceptable and that he should be immediately released.
This is embarrassing.
The secretary also urged the Kremlin to release immediately Paul Whelan. And since the administration was first alerted to this case, the State Department has continually attempted to secure consular access to Evan as it relates to the designation of wrongfully detained. And I'll say this, that process, the state has a process that is currently ongoing. It's playing out. And so I would refer you to the state on any specifics of that piece. There's a couple of things I do want to add just to give some folks and the American people just more broadly what that process is, because I know there's a lot of interest. I'm not going to get into specifics of the internal deliberate process, but the Department of State reviews cases of U.S. nationals detained abroad to determine if they are wrongful. The review assesses the facts of the case against criteria laid out in the Levinson Act. And so, again, without speaking to this particular case, a wrongful detention determination means that a couple of things, that the teams at the National Security Council, various offices at the Department of State, including the Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs and other U.S. government agency, will collaboratively work with colleagues inside and outside the government to develop a strategy to secure individuals' release, and just wanted to give that kind of broad scope of how this process works and what it actually offers.
Is that a matter of days? Is that a week, more than a week? Because obviously there's an urgency.
I understand the urgency. There is an urgency for this president. I have just said this is a priority for the president. This is a process that is playing out currently in the State Department, and they would have more specific on timeline.
Just to follow up on that, given that you're reiterating what an urgent priority it is to get him back home, at this point, would the administration say that anything is on the table to try to get him back home?
As you know, we try to be very careful, especially as we are having these conversations. I'm not going to get into specifics on what's playing out, what's on the table, what's not on the table, just not going to do that from here. Again, as I just stated, this is a priority for this president, and I'm just going to leave it there.
And what is that word?
At this point, you couldn't say whether a potential prisoner swap, for example, is or isn't on.
That is not something that I'm going to be just laying into from here at the podium.
And I did want to ask about the Donald Trump arraignment. I know you're not going to comment about the legal proceedings, you've said that many times, but can you give us any sense of how President Biden is taking all of this in just as a moment in American history? Obviously, he's a consumer of news. Has he been watching, reading the developments that are unfolding right now?
Good Lord.
So first, I have to say this it's an ongoing case, so we're just not going to comment on the case specifically itself. Look, the president's going to focus on the American people like he does every day.
You can say that again.
This is not something that is a focus for him. He is going to focus on things like making sure that we continue to lower prices for the American people. Of course, this is playing out on many of the networks here on a daily basis for hours and hours. So obviously, he will catch part of the news when he has a moment to catch up on the news of the day. But this is not his focus for today.
Seriously.
In recent days about these developments?
I have not. I have not focused. I have not spoken to him in the recent days on these developments. It's not. Again, it's not our focus. I will reiterate what I said last week when it occurred. When we first learned about the indictment, the president was not given a heads up. He was briefed by his chief of staff, and he learned about this just like all of you through the reporting. Again, our focus right now is on the American people, and I'm just not going to comment on any ongoing case.
This is embarrassing.